Kind of promised, during the first round of the competition, there is my guest, Keurentjes, who is the head coach of Team KNDB-NL. Really successful, really long time playing this role in the Dutch team. How many years already?
I'm head coach for 3 years, but I'm working with these players already for almost 15 years, I think. Wow.
15 years.
15 years. So I knew them when they were really small,
all the time.
Like 10 or 11, and now they're all grown up.
In Tallinn, in Estonia, we've had a chance to participate in seminary organized by Rick, seminary of coaches, and that was a great source of knowledge for all the coaches around Europe at that time. And I was really shocked how professional you are, how many statistics, how many database, how big database you have already to compare juniors to grandmasters and world champions like Roel Boomstra. I was really shocked about that. I didn't even know that it is possible. I have a question, because you all can have a question to Rick. Try to type it down on the chat and I will ask it. How it is possible? It requires a lot of money, or it just requires involvement from your and other coaches' side, and it is possible if you want to?
You mean what do you mean? What is possible?
The things how you organized it.
How we organize it? Okay. I think. Well, you need a plan. It starts that you need to have a vision, and I think that for almost 20 years now, we've been working the same way with more or less the same people. With Johan Kraaienbrink as the director of the program, and for a long time, of course, Rob Klerk was the head coach. I think it's just really important to get the right people on the bus, I think. So we have a technical staff who knows what they are doing and working with the same vision. And the vision is, well, generally speaking, we don't work for medals in youth, we work in medals in adults. That's the entire vision, because we have been successful 30, 40 years ago with youth, but it's been a long time before Roel Boomstra that we had a world champion seniors. So the idea is that we try to do it on a long-term basis, and so we need coaches for that, we need trainers for that, we need technical directors for that, and we need the players for that. So if we're looking at money, if we're looking at investments, I think the most important investment that we're talking about is the investment made by the players themselves and their parents. I think none of our success would have been possible if after 2 or 3 years Roel Boomstra would have said, okay, I feel like doing something else. And the same goes for Jan Groenendijk, Martijn van IJsendonk, and Wouter Sitma and Jitse Slump. They've been with us since 2009 or 2010. Jitse a little bit later. But it's just so important that they make the choices in their lives. Parents make choices in their lives, investments, even sometimes in which schools they choose, which paths they take. It's just commitment to a vision that you work really, really hard, and it takes a while until you reap the benefits, because you might not always get great success early on, but you have to trust in the fact that later on everything will be all right. And that's how we're doing it. And that's, I think, why we're not only talking about Roel anymore, but also about Jan, Martijn, Jitse, and Wouter. And hopefully in a few years about Emre, Simon, Matteo, and Lisa, Fleur, and also the girls and the women here. So that's, I think, really important to have a vision and to have the people there who can really carry that vision as well.
Mm-hmm. Not many people are able to have such long-term sight in it. Yeah, everyone wants to have the results right now, right here.
Yeah.
But it's always the matter of process of years, and of course many actions that we take.
Yeah, and it's also trial and error, because I was in the program once myself together with people like Jasper Lemon and I think Ben Provoost, Boudewijn Derks, and they became good players, like almost grandmasters, but it didn't really work. So it was also just a bit of trial and error, and I think we have to be very grateful to TeamNL, and our National Olympic Committee, to our government, that we've been able to do this for such a long time. They didn't shoot us down after a few years, but we've been able to do this also. I've been working with my federation, with my government for almost 15 years, and it's been paid by the National Olympic Committee. So sadly, after the first 4 years, the committee decided to drop the female program, the women program, But in the last few years, thanks to Esther van Meijeren, who's also here, we've been able to pick it up, and we hope that after the next Olympic Games, we will be able also to start up officially. We've already done it ourselves, but also with help from the government, also we will be able to start up also the women program again. And that for us is really important, that we get both the men and women program all both running with the same vision, with the same commitment, with the same people. Yeah, and that is really our next goal right now.
Would be great, and fingers crossed for it. Already work of Esther pays off, because Lisa was nearly third in the world during last Curacao tournament.
Yeah, last year Fleur became third in the world in rapid here, so that sadly only, it's great that Lisa is here, but sadly the other ones are not here due to, like Fleur, due to the World Championship and the World Championship Youth. No, but also if you look at the World Championship Youth, Louise Gabbert, Fleur Kruismulder, Julia Bincerovska all got medals again and titles again. So yeah, it's been going really well, and we really hope that we can just succeed in that and also give it a more official status, because if women in Holland get a more official status, we are also able to do more in schools and universities with exams and everything, just to arrange things. And now it's been quite difficult actually, but we're managing. But this, it's quite important for us.
Meanwhile, we have the question from Adrian Franek. You know him, the photographer.
Of course. Yes, of course I know.
Head photographer of Polish draughts team.
Yes,
How do you motivate children to play?
Well, it depends, of course, on what age. I could focus on the things you're already doing in schools. Then I think you can answer it yourself as well. Then the start is just letting them know the game. Mm-hmm. And I've never come across a child that if they know what draughts is, I think they always like it. So just learning the rules and just letting them know about it. Yeah, just also a way of making sure that you got your most beautiful combination, your most beautiful ideas, showing what a king can do and everything like that. I think that's just something that everybody can do. You don't have to be a top player for that, a top trainer for that. That's just something really nice everybody can do. But if you, for instance, he has a son himself who plays very strongly already, and then it's more about motivating to keep on working. And that's, like I said, with the vision you have, it's at one point when you're getting older and older, the competition gets tougher. When you're young, then often you can do a lot with combinations, you can do a lot with opening tricks. But for instance, the age that Hugo now is, it's more important also that you work on your positional style, and that takes hours. It takes maybe sometimes a trainer. If a trainer is not always available, you need to study materials like from a course in draughts or other books that are available. And then it's important to explain to a child also that this studying is also just a way to discover the most beautiful things. And that's just so important also to keep inspiring your students. And how you do that? Well, just to help them and also just to give feedback, but also to understand that it's always important to play. At every age you are, it's just so important to keep on playing, to find, if you do it on CC games, if you do it on lead draughts, wherever you do it, just important to keep on going to competitions. If it's offline or online, it doesn't really matter. So I think you just have to do everything, but in order really to become the next Polish best player, for instance, you also need to study a little bit, and that you have to keep it fun, you have to keep it entertaining, but it's to get better, it's really important.
So according to Schwarzman, I have a question to you, because when we are looking at the world champions in chess, most of them are between 20 and 30 years of age.
Yeah.
And do you think that if our community was bigger, much bigger, like the chess one, there would be no chance for having such old world champion like Schwarzman?
I think they can. The first question is, I don't think so. Mm-hmm. I think he would still, but it's the comparison between draughts and chess. It's interesting to know if draughts, because of the nature of the game, with pieces being all the same and more about positional insights, if there is more room for, let me say, like playing on routine and on feeling. In chess, there's really a lot comes from opening theory, really a lot comes from studying and calculation, and also broad calculation. if you look at the quality from still players like Schwarzman, like players like Baleakin, like Gandvar, those players are really at a high age. With all due respect, even Chishov is of course a little bit older. But if you look at the quality from games like Chishov plays in Rapid and in Blitz, it's unbelievable. I think for instance, it won't happen in a way like it's in chess, where it's special that Anand is still top 10, like Gelfand is not even top 50 anymore. I think the nature of the game, with the current rules in place, I think does give the opportunity for all the players to be there. I more or less echoing the opinion about from Alexander Balyakin, who has this idea. Secondly, I do think that if there would be more players, there would be also more. I think the level of top players would go up, and I think players would be at the top younger. And it's of course logical that I say that because my group is really young right now. Yes. My current group is with Sipma is 30, Boomstra was 30 as well, Van IJsendonk 26, Groenendijk 25, Slum 24. They are very young, so I do think, but still we can see that if we look at the data, a normal age for a world champion in Holland, world champion in draughts is 28. But it's also very normal that they keep on becoming world champion until they're 40. Yeah. It's a normal. Like Georgiev, for instance, first time 28, when in his late 20s, it's quite normal actually. So I do think that the age is a little bit higher. I do think. And you can keep on playing until quite a little bit higher level. Mm-hmm. But it's clear that at this point there are not enough young players to push out the older players. Because I think next to the Dutch guys, we have, of course, Pan Yiming.
He wasn't playing in Lishui?
No, because he played in the national games before that and also the tournaments before. And as we know, in China, the national games are more important than the World Championship. Mm-hmm. So, and after that, he had to go back to university, as I understood. So that's why. So,
and somehow do you follow his level of play?
No, because we can't. We saw a few games, but unless he plays in all tournaments for 2 years, we know what his exact level is. Of course, he was second in the World Championship in Yamoussoukro, that's clear. Mm-hmm. But to know his real level, he would have to be, I think, 2 years in the entire circuit playing against all top players. Then we would really know his real level, I think. And right now, we just don't have control.
Okay, so there is another question that I want to ask you, because once I was commenting many things with Ivan Antonenko, he was always saying that Roel Boomstra just had amazing attitude, because he, from the very beginning, tried to play it extremely sharp and difficult positions, and he lost many games, but finally he knew how to play it, and he felt it all the time, and that's the reason why he became world champion. So once the player is progressing, what is the way to try to draw against grandmasters or try to be really sharp, lose many games, and finally, like Boomstra, learn yourself how to play those games?
Well, it's already a difficult premise that it's not always so that Roel, at one point, like when Roel was, for instance, 18, like Emre is, he played differently than he was 15 or 16. So when he was a lot younger, he used to lose more. I think at one point he stabilized. I think that if you're looking at a long-term goal, the basic attitude should always be that you should try to do what you're taught. But if you also need to be realistic, if you can't find anything better than the plans that are on the board, if you don't trust the position, you also should just try to keep a position or keep a draw or defend the position. So I think the attitude should always be like Ivan says about Boomstra, that you should try to play, but you should also try to be realistic. I can play extremely sharp against myself, against Valneris, but if I do something then that I don't really know anything about, then I'm just killing myself. So you have to find a balance. So again, between what you're doing, and that's, I think, very important. So I think if you look at the opening, it's clear that probably Emre wanted to try a certain system. Guntis didn't go for it. And then it's difficult to know, okay, does Emre has to do a different system which is really sharp and he has to do a lot of work? Or does he keep it more open? And that's also probably a little bit of psychology. I think for Emre, this works. He can keep the position. He's used to playing calmly, also a little bit against strong grandmasters. So I think it's also just a little bit personal. But mostly we're trying to encourage players to go for it as much as possible.
That's this point of view, and there is another question from the chat about Daria Tkaczenko. How did it happen that she represents Holland?
I actually don't know. So that's very clear for me. No, I really don't know. I know that she has been in Holland for, probably long enough. I think she has been in Holland.
Do you have some internal rules about that?
And no, because I don't think it's up to the Dutch Federation. For the Dutch Federation, it's very clear. If you're living in Holland, I think, but I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not a specialist in the current rules, as I am in current Dutch sport regulations. But I do think that if you live long enough in Holland, that you are a member of the KNDB, that you can participate in KNDB competitions. So that's why she could play in the Dutch Championship already. I know that she could play in the Dutch Championship Blitz. I know Mr. Schwarzman, who's also living in Holland, has now chosen the Israeli nationality. But he will be able to play in the Dutch Championship if he qualifies for the finals, which he probably will. He can also play there. But regarding her being able to represent Holland, I have no knowledge of the entire political situation that took place regarding her nationality, because I am aware that there were before the tournament in Kortrijk, European Championship, if she could participate, what were the regulations for FMJD, but we do know that she was allowed to participate as an individual player in the World Championship. Well, if the FMJD and has decided that she has a special position in which she can get a Dutch play for the Dutch Federation. Okay, that's clear, but I don't know how it came to pass exactly.
There's another question from the chat. Which was the best organized tournament in 2023, and why it was the World Championship in Curacao?
No, I think it's not a surprise, no secret that the World Championship in Curacao is not the best tournament we had this year, which is very sad. I think that you have to be realistic that the tournaments that are already have been on the calendar for a long time are always very good. When we go to Polish Open here, we know what to expect, and you and your team always deliver. But the same can be said about Riga, which is always a good tournament, decent, a good playing hall, good accommodation. But we've been to Lishué also, and for a lot of you probably maybe don't know, but until 2019 it was also a yearly tournament. They also know very well how to organize. So these regular World Cup tournaments are also, I think they are just organized very well, I think, and I think we can be very happy with those. Next year already, Riga is on the list, Polish Open is on the list. We are sure that there is always quality there. But it's good that also Asia, China is picking up again. Absolutely. I think that the draughts world needs it to have some, because also regarding finances and money. So
let's be honest, we don't have resources like they have.
No. So it's really, really well that they're going there. And and it's just sad that if we look at the level of organizing that's possible, sadly, it has not been able to transfer to Curacao this year. And it's sad that we didn't have any live games, any real live demonstrations, but also for the players, the circumstances could have been better. Let's put it like that.
Once you told me, I hope this is not a secret, in Tallinn, that there are issues with transporting those live games from KNDB to Curacao. I was afraid, but once the tournament has started, I was totally demotivated.
I can imagine.
Because you work 2 years for something, try to promote, try to show the drafts how the world is, and what brings the numbers, the viewers, the World Championship, and you want to show it to the world. And I was ashamed of publishing of Polish Drafts Federation website information about the tournament.
I think it's for us. We've made sure that the conditions of the playing hall have not been shown on camera by ourselves. I think it's good that whatever we might think of also about who should take responsibility, at least in the last letter that has been published by the president of FMJD, Jacek Pawlicki, he is showing some promise to do better. And I think we need that. And let's see how it goes. But I know there are people that are skeptical about also the role of FMJD in this. But we cannot linger also on past events. We need to make sure that this doesn't happen again. And that's what's the first sentence of the letter is. And let's hope that we will make sure that doesn't happen again.
Yeah. Of course, President Pawlicki apologizing is something new. And of course, we needed it. But, once I'm looking forward and I'm analyzing some possibilities of making it better, what it gives to prepare some agreements, checking, traveling to the organizer's place, as they don't have the organizers wanting to cooperate with them.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem. I do believe I have to be very clear about that for Mr. Pawlicki and Mr. Richard. They were told something else regarding playing room. We would play in the Marriott, very nice. And it's also, if you would tell me that you will, if you were president of FMJD, you say, I'm going to spend 3,000 euros just to look at a playing room 2 months before, we would say from Draughts community, that's wasting money. We should be able, if somebody says we will have a beautiful room in Sambil, but it wasn't a beautiful room, so there was no room. Yeah. So that's also not something, but it's difficult now, and FMJD should understand right now that it's a problem how to work with these things. I think they've taken some responsibility right now with the letter that's been published. It's also very clear that top players were all very unhappy with that. Top players made the decision together to participate. Everybody could have protested and could have denied playing.
But let's be honest. What were the other options?
No, there were no options. Everybody knew you either play or you don't play. That was very clear.
You play. You don't have the possibilities of refusing participating in such tournaments. You don't have.
No, it was very clear. I had the option to pull out 11 players. I had the possibility, but I didn't also in accordance with KNDB because there would be only losers then. Yes. And now everybody had the same circumstance. Like talking about, we've been working at it. Some of these players have been working for this for not 2 years, but for the entire lives. But the conditions were the same for everyone, and the right persons won with Victoria and Yuri. They did well coping with these circumstances. Even Yuri with taking buses all day, which were not on time. So we can only compliment them for what they've done, and let's make sure that we only go forwards from now on. I think that's important.
Okay, Rick, so I will not disturb you more. Thank you very much for joining us and sharing with us so many valuable informations and analyzing those games, of course. So good luck to your players.
Thank you. It was a pleasure, as always. Thank you. Good luck this week also.
2 minutes of